Okay. We are live. Welcome everyone to this June MetaMask Developer Community Call. How are you, Alejandro? Are you
I'm
excited?
pretty good, and yes, of course, I'm excited. Today we have like really fun topics and really exciting topics to talk about. Like we are going to talk about Web3 Auth and DTK, like really cool stuff going on this call today. So yeah, how are you?
Nice. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Excited where we're bringing this kind of like community call again this month, pre kind of like ECC, post kind of like Berlin Blockchain Week. A lot of kind of like things happen during the way, and I think like this month is fully dedicated on embedded wallet, especially on Web3 Auth. And I think like without further ado, let's kind of like jump into the agenda for today. So we have a couple of like things. I think for now people really understand, and feel free always to ask question in the chat, understand why we're doing these calls. So before actually diving in on the why, let's run a little bit through what are we speaking today. So those sessions are around like 1 hour. So we'll see what we can squeeze for this session. But I think everyone here is super excited. And saw the news that MetaMask and Consensus welcome Web3 Auth to the kind of like developer offering kind of family. We're super excited entering this kind of like embedded wallet era. And today we are super honored to have actually a quick fireside chat with Leonard and actually speak about what happened with this kind of like phase. How was the kind of like the start of Web3 Auth, where the space is going, how is the DevX playing, and I think there is a lot of things. And we will also like welcome in this call like new DevRels in our team, and we're super excited actually to welcome in this MetaMask Developer Community Call for this June. And then we will actually dive in a little bit more technical. What is actually like what are embedded wallets? Why developers should actually like build apps leveraging embedded wallets, and what is specific and special, so special around the Web3 auth stack? What are those SDK? We're diving a little bit on the CLI and some of the example, and we actually touch also the delegation toolkit. I think people by now actually saw how powerful is the MetaMask delegation toolkit and what are the use cases you can build with. And this session will be actually driven with Yash and Ayush. So let's get it started. Any kind of like hype session that you're looking more forward to,
Yes,
Alejandro?
actually, the MetaMask embedded wallet one will be fun
Mhm.
since I think probably there is
Nice,
coming a demo. So I'm really excited
nice.
about all the embedded wallet stuff and MetaMask coming into the embedded wallet ecosystem. That's actually amazing. So yeah, I'm pretty hype about that.
Nice. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, demos are always exciting. Hopefully, the demo gods will be with us this
Yeah,
time.
I'm sure they
In
will.
the past, yeah, we're running this for the people that doesn't know. We're running these live coding sessions every month. On like we did on SDK, we did that on a delegation toolkit, and sometimes kind of like we're taking like longer debugging live in front of like 10,000 people is always like
Yeah.
fun. Okay, super. Let's do it. Let's start it. So I just want to quickly give a context to everyone. I think like for anybody that already see and is coming to those call, understand why we want to do it. But at the end, we are very kind of like hands-on and kind of grassroots to the community, right? We really want to kind of like show you things, not kind of like tell, demoing kind of like things, also like highlighting some of the features that are happening and kind of like news from the ecosystem. We are inviting also a lot of kind of like ecosystem player in those calls to kind of like showing what they're building. And the idea behind those kind of like dev community call is giving a floor to the community, to everyone that want to kind of present what coolness they are building. And think about for this specific call, not, but sometimes we're inviting hackathon winners to present what they hacked on the kind of like the 48 hours. Even think about people that are getting grants, what they're kind of like building, how they're expanding their tech stack, and kind of like all the lessons learned, so that also other builders hearing these calls are kind of like using and leveraging those lesson learned and tips. And obviously, we're speaking a little bit about what is coming next, right? Obviously, there is a lot of like things happening right now between all the IRL activation with ECC, but also like all the MetaMask kind of like hackathons, non-IRL that are happening. There is a lot of things. And I think like while we're doing that, let's actually like start with this announcement here. So I think everybody kind of like noticed there is a lot of people involved in this. So we'll be at ECC. I think you're also
Yeah,
coming, Alejandro. I'm excited also to meet you IRL. And we're having a couple of like interesting kind of like activation. I think you saw the pop hunt. So you basically need to actually hunt a fox, and there is something like 12 plus location in all Cannes, and this will be fun. You will also see a street team leveraging actually the MetaMask card doing quite a lot of things. So that's also like very exciting. And on Monday, we run a very special builder night, and this builder night will be all about kind of like payments use case, stable. So we have I think like 10 15 plus co-hosts,
mhm.
and this is really a festival of company, and I think will be actually fun to hear some of those fireside chat with Circle, but also having very deep dive infrastructure panel on payments. So that's super
That's nice.
exciting.
I think cans will be amazing and will be fun to meet you all IRL. So yeah, will be good.
Same. And please let us know all the time, if you're building something interesting, if you want to have tips on how to leverage, both SDK or delegation toolkit, or in the future embedded wallet. I think this is a good idea and good timing to come in. And then the other big things that we wanna, and is worth to mention here, is that now is I think this is the third week that this MetaMask card Dev Cook-Off hackathon is happening. There is I think almost like 300 plus people actually hacking on this, and it's very exciting because we actually push this for the first time to see kind of like the sentiment around building dApps around off ramping on MetaMask card, but also leveraging this kind of like on-chain DID ecosystem. And I think was we got a lot of like good feedback. So if you're hacking on this, there is still kind of always time to register. This is a month non-IRL hackathon is happening every month. This MetaMask Dev Cook-Off, and this month is all about MetaMask card. We actually working on one specific for embedded wallet for next month. So please stay tuned. If you're into embedded wallet, that's one that you want to do. But if you're also like want to leverage more kind of DID financial kind of like ecosystem specific, I think the MetaMask card hackathon is something that you might be all interested to check out, especially because we're doing this with also like amazing partner with Circle and iLiFi, and both providing their SDK. So there is a lot of like things that you can play with. So I don't know if you have anything like you wanna add on the card
Yeah, I
hackathon,
think these
Alejandro.
two will be actually pretty amazing because we have like the card, the MetaMask card hackathon, and then we have the embedded wallet hackathon. So actually, these two are fixes to the UX on Web3. So you can pay with card, and then you can log in with socials and embedded wallet and have a whole application with this. So actually, we are moving in this kind of path of improving the UX in Web3. So these hackathons are for builders that wants to build around this. So I think this is actually pretty amazing, and pretty happy to see what builders are going to do with all these
Nice.
products that I think are amazing.
Yes, especially because like you really have a full on-chain record. You can also like leveraging a lot of like interesting use case with like loans and borrowing. You can also do some sort of kind of DID or credit scoring. I think like the fact that you have a track record on chain and you are off ramping specifically, it's very
Yes.
powerful. Nice. Okay, let's do it. I think we have, well, let's start our first session, and I think we can dive deep a little bit in colors. I will invite here now both Yash and Leonard on stage. So welcome, both like Leonard and Yash. You wanna quickly
Yeah,
introduce yourself?
definitely. Thanks a lot for the like all the introduction about this whole call, Francesco. That was really great. And about me, I'm Yash. I used to be leading the developer relations department at Web3 Auth, and I've joined recently MetaMask as a senior developer advocate. And a lot of different things I've done so far is around everything developer relations, strategic positioning things around Web3 auth, and we'll be discussing a lot more about different things about Web3 auth in the further call today. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Leonard, one of the co-founders of Web3 Auth, also the CTO. Mostly, I do a lot of R&D, do a lot of the green, like basically new feature development, a bunch of cryptography, and I'm very excited to share a lot more about what we are trying to do in the embedded wallet space, as well as our journey and how we are now part of MetaMask.
Yeah, I think like Leonard, you've been busy kind of during the past weeks, right? I think
Yes.
it's an honor that you literally have had time to jump in this call and kind of like tell us a little bit the story. And again, Yash, is so cool to have you like part of the DevRel family now. And I think embedded wallet is part of like the building your dApps journey, and is something I think we care more and more about. But let's start a little bit with kind of like a background story of Web3 Auth. Like, Leonard, you want to
Sure.
run us through a little bit, like, how things started? Because if I remember correctly, we met, I think it was like three
Yes, I
years
think
ago or
two
something
years ago. Yeah. Yes.
at DEF CON. Was that DEF CON
Yes.
Puzzle
One.
House? And you guys have been building for quite a while
Correct.
already,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So I think before we were Web3 Auth, we were actually Taurus Labs. And the company has been around for about 6 years, 2019 until this year, 2025. So about 6 years. We spent the first 3 years as Taurus Labs, and then we rebranded to Web3 Auth. And in the very beginning, we were a full-fledged wallet. And the story of how that started was, if you're around in 2019, there was really only one wallet, and that was MetaMask, right? There were no other alternatives. And basically, for a new user, it was pretty problematic because they first had to download Chrome extension and set a seed phrase and a bunch of these steps. And it took a long time for them to even get started in using any kind of dApp. And we saw this as a challenge that needed to be solved to improve the UX. So early on, the first thing we realized was that it had to be something that a user did not have to download, so they could immediately get started. And we basically kind of looked to what was already available. So there are things like widgets, right? So if you're familiar with chatbots, like support widgets, like Intercom, for example, those applications just live as a widget in the website, and they could do a bunch of things. And what we thought was maybe it's possible to extend that to become a full-fledged wallet. And that got us started for the very first few steps. We took a lot of notes from MetaMask open source code, so Web3 provider engine, a bunch of these things, and we managed to get some things working. And eventually, that became a complete wallet that you could use with just a single click to log in. And we had lots of options to choose from in terms of security as well. So we could do something like password encryption. We could use something like HSMs. But what we went for back then, and I think that was a good decision in hindsight, but what we went for was to use social logins. In particular, we started with Google Login. And the reason for that was that a lot of these social login factors are already pretty secure. So if you use your Google login and you set up 2FA, right, or MFA on it, it would confirm if you were trying to log in from a new device, right? Or if you have forgotten a password, you can now use something like Touch ID, right? So we managed to leverage that existing security to protect crypto wallets. So that's kind of how we started. Yeah.
One
Nice, nice.
interesting insight over there is I gave interview for Taurus Labs and I joined Web3 Auth and I was confused what's going on. Uh, so later I wanted to ask, like, how was this transition from Taurus Labs, like the Taurus wallet to Web3 Auth initially?
Yeah. That's also a good point. Why did we rebrand, right? So there are a few reasons. So when we started, there was only one other wallet. There was only one dominant and really only one wallet, which was MetaMask. But between the time when we came out with the idea and we launched, three other wallets launched, which were doing very, very similar things. So they were, I think, Portis, Bitski, and one other one, Formatic, which is now Magic Link. So a bunch of these companies launched, and we we're all competing in the same space. And basically, it became really crowded, firstly. And the problem also was that it wasn't sufficient to just be a good wallet. You needed to have really good distribution. So even though our wallet would have feature parity with a lot of the things you could do a wallet, I think back then you could even deploy a smart contract in our just using the Taurus wallet. Um, just having feature parity and all these features wasn't sufficient to get more users. You had to convince dApps to install the SDK, and then users would also want to use a wallet they already had. So it's like a chicken and egg problem, right? Like a lot of marketplaces, you need both. And we didn't have the distribution back then. So what we decided to go for was kind of a more developer facing strategy. So instead of trying to win users over and then having to also win developers over so that they could even start using our wallet, we decided to go for a developer first strategy and target companies instead. So one of the complaints we heard from a lot of developers was they didn't understand what Taurus stood for. They also had trouble spelling it. There are multiple ways to spell Taurus, like Torus or Taurus. So they had some difficulty trying to understand what our product was. And we thought of many names, but what eventually stuck was Web3 Auth. And that's what the company came to represent. We would do Web3 authentication. So it's easy to understand. It had great glance value, which is someone looks at Web3 Auth, they kind of already immediately get what we're trying to do and what we can do for them. So we did this huge rebrand thing. We changed a lot of domains that took a lot of time. And then basically we targeted developers first, went for enterprise. And we also changed how we did it. So kind of like a SaaS model ongoing from that point on. And that's basically why we rebranded to Web3 Auth. It's just a whole change in strategy as well as branding.
This is nice. I mean, I love the fact that kind of like this developer first mindset, because I think this is something that people really refer you as kind of like, okay, these guys really want me to give tooling that they're appreciated in the ecosystem and they're kind of like battle tested. And I think even the first time that I saw, oh, like you guys really care about your docs, you have actually like accessible resources, and I think like that was really playing a big role. But how was the experience of? I mean, you touched on the social logins,
Yes.
SSO kind of like logins. How you see things getting shifted? Like because I assume right now people want more of those kind of like solution, but I also like I felt at the beginning, was this the case? Was not the case? How things evolve from
So
that?
I think it's always been the case that that developers and both users and developers want something that's easy to onboard. And you can do that, but you also don't want to trade off security, right? So you want both. So and there's like different levers you can tweak, right? Something that could be really easy to onboard could be lower in security, but you don't want that. You want to maybe delay the security setup. So very similar to how if you are logging into something like Google, they don't prompt you to set up 2FA on day one, right? They do it after you've logged in a few times, right? Or maybe you've interacted with them more. So we basically did this incremental onboarding strategy, and that created a nice trade-off between what we felt was good UX as well as good security. And I think this point of having good UX is always important. I think onboarding is one of the biggest hurdles for adoption for crypto. And it doesn't just stem from the wallet. There are lots of concepts that a new user needs to understand, right? Just the fact that your wallet, if someone hacks it, the money is gone, right? There's no way to get it back, right? If it's transferred out. These are foreign concepts to the average user. The average user who comes from, let's say, a banking app would not be expecting this. They also need to understand the concept of gas. So just lots of these UX hurdles that a new user needs to overcome that we think that if we lower, it can help with improving onboarding and drop-off rate. So I think that hasn't changed. What has changed though is how mature these solutions are. So when we started, the solutions were not really mature, firstly. They were also not as trusted. I think back then there was some apprehension around like how secure is a browser wallet really. And after many years, it's proven to be relatively secure. So people kind of understand the trade-offs now. and they're willing to use that perhaps as a first step, and then eventually offboard the user to something that is much more secure, like MetaMask or even something like Ledger, right? Like a hardware wallet. So I think that part of the journey hasn't changed. So people want something that's easy to use, but um, not that is also still secure. Um, but now, like I said, it's getting more mature, and I think people are expecting a bit more from what embedded wallets have been offering. So right now, people are already kind of used to, have already seen like the social login flow, which is basically sign up with something like email or Google Login, Facebook, and you get a wallet. But they're looking for more things, and I think that's kind of where Web3 is trying to bring that what together with MetaMask, right? We're trying to build some of these extra features that we think people need. So one of the feedback we've gotten is that there are a lot of people are tired of the fragmented experience with how embedded wallets are. So embedded wallets, the way they are today, are often app scoped. So what that means is an embedded wallet that you get on that A is different from what you have on that B, and so on. And that means if you log into many dApps or use many dApps, right, you end up having a lot of wallets, and then the problem becomes how do you manage all these wallets? So that's something that we think is solvable and is a problem for lots of people. Um, and it's also related to other problems, which is that once you have this fragmented experience, it's also difficult to give it initial funds, right? So you end up having to top up all these wallets with small amounts of money, and then there's like leftover, ETH or something that you need to move out. So it becomes a whole thing, and we think it's possible to solve that. Yeah. So just a bunch of these things that we think are possible to improve. Yeah.
I mean, what you're saying here about fragmented experience is so important. I see stuff around also like, gas fee payments, like chain
Yes.
abstraction, specific kind of like payments, even like account recovery is something I'm super kind of like passionate about. And, the fact that still I think people are expecting the minimum, but now the kind of like the expectation are actually increasing. They want extra features that are actually usable. And account recovery is definitely one. But a bit like on the security side, right? And feel free always to jump in, Yash. I don't want to kind of like take over and Alejandro. But I want to ask you, like, you touched on social logins. How kind of like social logins create this kind of like non-custodial experiences, talking specifically on the infra-level security.
Okay. So the way we do it, right, is basically we took a lot of the good concepts from multi-factor authentication, right, and imported them in a way that was implementable in a browser, to keep it non-custodial. So how we did it was basically, if you're familiar with Shamir secret sharing, the idea is to split your private key into shards, and they need basically 2 out of 3 shards to get back a private key. And then we basically split these shards across multiple factors. And that's where like the MFA part comes in, right? So one of them is protected by your social login. One of them is on the device itself, so the browser you're using. And the third one is like a backup factor that you can choose many options to do. You could back it up with maybe a secondary email, you could download it, you could use Touch ID. But the general idea is just like normal MFA, if you are using an existing device and a known authentication factor, you have 2 shards available to access your account. But if you lose either of them, you can use your backup to kind of rehydrate the state. So that's basically what how it works at an infra level. And all of this is implemented front end. So if you do it back end, then it's potentially just fully custodial, because if someone hacks the servers, they could just do all that. But front end, it's not possible to hack into the browser and change what the user has. So we basically had to recreate a lot of these known MFA strategies in a front end way. So that's what we actually spent a lot of our time on in the first 3 years before we were Web3 off. And then after we realized how difficult it was to do that, basically we found out it was difficult because no one else was doing it. And people were impressed when we told them they were doing it. We started offering as a service. So that's what Web3 off also did. We started offering all of these infra that we did as a service for other companies, so they could do something like that without having to build themselves. I think it's important, having built a lot of this from scratch. I would say I've learned a lot about browser security, but one other thing I've also learned about is just how underrated security is, right? Because you don't pay for it upfront. That's the thing, right? You don't pay for it upfront. A lot of people just think, oh, security is something that, you know, is a good to have, but you don't notice the risk and you don't pay the cost until something happens, and by then it's too late. You've lost the trust of your users. So I think that's something that I would say is really important to note, which is that yeah, security is often just overlooked.
And touching base on the security aspect, Leonard, like
Mm.
you mentioned, like multiple people have multiple approaches to implement social logins for generating wallets. So, what do you think about HSMs, TEEs, and then MPC, TSS, and all sorts of stuff as compared to what we are doing with mostly Shamir secret sharing and MPC,
Mm.
TSS?
So I think HSMs can work. It's just um I think the argument that HSMs give. Okay. But firstly, let me clarify how we're doing. Like I said, we're doing Xiaomi secret sharing, and I would say that's the MPC approach. So a lot of companies also adopt this. Well, not a lot. Several companies also adopt this approach. Silence Labs, for example. But there are other companies that use HSMs. So like Magic Link is one of them. And I think the security argument for HSMs is strong, which is that um, you basically delegate the security of the wallet to some known HSM provider. So usually that's Amazon, and then your claim is that your account is safe because no one can hack those HSMs. It's guaranteed by AWS. So I think the security argument is really strong. The part that's not strong, not as strong, is the custodiality argument, which is that I don't think you can credibly claim that it is not custodial because Amazon has control of the HSMs, right? So they could just authorize that some API call saying that this is valid, and then you can get access to the user's account. So I think there's several arguments to be made about that. And I think if you asked me a year ago, I would have been more vocal supporter of the MPC approach of doing it, simply because I think both are non-negotiables. It needs to be both secure as well as non-custodial for it to be a good solution. But I no longer think so after the Pectra upgrade, because these are now all temporary problems, right? You could always just upgrade the user to a smart account, right? To like a smart contract wallet. So now you have some kind of initial onboarding that works for everybody, but then if the user really wants to, they can move out of this system really easily. Whereas in the past, it wasn't possible. So I think the argument is slightly less relevant today.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it makes sense. I think also like people cared, and a little bit like speaking on the dev, and I think we're almost on time here. But Leonard, so what all this kind of like means for developer they are building currently with all the MetaMask dev tooling?
Hmm.
You know, what kind of we are pushing, I think embedded wallet SDK. I think we will deep down on a more technical
Yes.
kind of first chat later. But what does it mean in general for all the developer
So
out
I
there?
cannot say too much about what's coming up. A lot of it's under wraps. But what I can say is expect a much more smooth transition for your users, right? So today you have embedded wallets, or you pick MetaMask, right? And the user brings their own wallet. Expect that users will have a much more smooth experience. Developers as well, they'll be able to use both SDKs in a more smooth and more integrated way. And I think something else that I can hint at also is that a lot of benefits they see embedded wallets today are coming to MetaMask. That is why we're part of MetaMask. So stay tuned over the next few months.
Too much excited for that.
Yes, yes.
Sounds good. Sounds
Oh,
good. Yeah. Hale, Yash, any kind of like last question? I mean, thanks so much also, Leonard, to kind of like sharing your vision around this kind of like, embedded wallet adoption. I think we're obviously going in this way, especially like, all the builders out there, they're actually like creating and building the apps. They will expect people, I don't know what the percentage, assuming it's something like half of the people at least going with SSO or social logins. I'm definitely like excited to see more and more kind of like easier extra features from kind of like account recovery to kind of like seedless specific kind of like journeys, but also like stuff like chain abstracted experiences. I don't want to pay the gas fee. I want to kind of like a chain abstraction where I get And I think 7702 and Pectra brought us a lot of like good extra feature that we can build on top. Stuff like batch transaction obviously is the main one, but I think the experience is going, and I think like what was missing on the better wallet side is definitely this part. And now that we can combine everything so powerful also with Linea, like you literally have the full stack that you can build as a builder in the space. So any closing word, Leonard, that you want to kind of like drive
Yeah, I'm very excited for
to
what's coming up, right? The team at Web3 as well as at MetaMask are working hard on building these features now. And we cannot wait to show you some of these exciting things we've built.
Nice, nice. Thanks so much, Leonard, for having, for just joining us here and kind of like, coming with this kind of like first chat. I think it means a lot for having you here and giving us this time. Looking forward to meet you soon, both IRL and maybe in the next kind of like community call to see some
For sure.
updates. And in the meanwhile, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks, Leonard. Cool. So in the meantime here, I think we have our next speaker. Let me kind of like brought up. So what are we speaking next, Alejandro?
Okay, so next we're going to talk about like the embedded wallet, like really the technical part. We're going to see some demo from Yash and Ayush, which is going to talk about the developer toolkit. So which is the the delegation toolkit, sorry. So this delegation toolkit is the this product from MetaMask that allows you to create delegations and all that. So I think Ajosh will speak better about this. So yeah, welcome.
Exciting, exciting, exciting. So
Hello.
welcome, Ayush, to this kind of like first chat slash demo session. You want to quickly introduce yourself before I'm doing this legendary intro?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Ayush. I work as a senior DevRel engineer at Consensus, and I've majorly focused on delegation toolkit, which you can refer to as like MetaMask smart accounts, like whatever you want to do with MetaMask smart accounts. And previously, I used to work at Web3 Auth as like DevRel, focusing on like mobile SDKs and the smart accounts over there. So yeah, so excited to be here. I
Nice.
think this is my second call. We did the live coding session
Oh yeah, I
First
previously
one,
remember.
with the
yeah,
delegation
was a
toolkit.
bit more intense. We were coding like
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I remember
I,
the
debugging
I
the
live.
remember
issues.
you
I
telling me that I
remember.
cannot reveal that I'm from Web3 Auth and I've joined MetaMask as of now. I remember that session.
yeah.
That was fun. That was fun. Actually, it's very emotional this moment because everybody is a DevRel. We are actually like here in this call, and it's really great. We have actually here in the background also like Maharshi, also like joining this call. He's in the background, but I think like we will actually like be able to bringing up for our next community calls. But again, welcome again to the family. It's great also like to also run more kind of like DevX around the community. And I think you guys are coming strongly from also like a technical background, and the fact that Ayush you took over more delegation toolkit stuff is really cool. And the live coding session really like showed it. Okay, let's do it. So this is all about kind of like embedded wallet. Let's actually like break down. I think we hear from Leonard Yash what is kind of like on high level, but let's break down what SDK do we have, what and how builders today can actually like use and leverage an embedded wallet in their kind of like DApp experience. And I think you prepare some demos. We can run through docs, anything. It's we're kind of like free to do so. I will share now your. I think you have something prepared for us, and again. The floor is
Perfect.
yours.
Thank you. My internet has been like not working exactly at the right time, I will say. It's like the demo gods. Let's see if it works or not. So basically, what I want to show you all is how Web3 works, what are the different things we offer. And moving forward to that, we can even talk about, like Ayush and I will have a conversation around what are the things that are available here and how somebody can just get started with all of this the embedded wallet experience, how they can create delegations with delegation toolkit as well, and also the important features which actually stand out with web3 auth particularly. So A very simple place to get an experience about this will be the demo web3 demo.web3.io is the website, and I'll do a quick Google login. Okay, so in the background I'm just clicking on my Google credentials right now, which I won't be able to share because it's a live stream, and as soon as I click on that, I'm able to just see all of the different details of my account. So this is the email I've logged in with. I have a device, as Leonard was saying, there are multiple shares, multiple MFA factors that are associated with an account. So this is the particular device which I'm logged in. This is a Chrome browser, and I have my phone number over here, which is linked as a social recovery factor as well. I can add a password, passkeys, all sorts of stuff. I can mint a free NFT just like that right over here if I want to, and it will work. It will just process my request in the background. It will be going on, and I can open my wallet UI. I guess I have to refresh over here right now. So wallet UI, all my NFTs details and settings, whatever I want off my wallet are just directly available over here. As you see, it's available in dark and light mode, both of them. But as a developer, you might think, how is this important to me? This is just a general wallet stuff, right? So I'll just log in again and show you inside of something we call Playground, in which all sorts of developer toolings we have developed, and simple code snippets that you can just copy paste, and I'll show you how. So I just log in using a different way. I'll use my email passwordless over here for this one. Okay. So not just Google login. And I might have received an email. Let me just check. Uh, okay, just a moment over here. I've gotten the OTP. Okay, so it's verifying the OTP right now, and after that, it will be logged in, and you can see all my details right here. If you just use the user info hook, you can directly get the email and whatever ID token and all sorts of stuff what this particular login method has given me. As given Web3 auth, you will be getting all the same information over here. For the transactions, the same provider you get from MetaMask will be provided with Web3 Auth as well. There's no change in that. So exactly how you use MetaMask with Wagmi, with Ethers, with VM, all sorts of stuff, you can just directly interact with it. You can just directly send a transaction. I'm not sure if there's some money. Okay, yeah. Definitely in this wallet, I had no money. So it's saying insufficient funds. I could sign a message. I can deploy a smart contract, read a smart contract, everything like that, and you can even verify the particular user on the server side. So Web3 issues an ID token to you that was given right over here. If you just look again in the information over here, so this ID token you can verify in the backend as well. So this is how it works. A basic of Web3 or just an over the top view of the different things that are possible. And as mentioned, there are wallet UIs available just directly within your application, and you can customize it according to your needs. So we'll run through the documentation and things like that as well. Ayush, do you have any questions about the different things we have done so far?
Yeah, like I have like
Mhm.
couple of questions. So you mentioned that you can use Google login, you can use the email
Mhm.
passwordless. So let's say like we are a company and we have our own like
Mhm.
authentication server. Can we bring that in to
That's one
Web3
of the
auth?
most important features, I guess, with Web3 Auth. And we'll show you how it works as well inside of the dashboard. But any type of login that is compatible with OAuth 2.0, which is like the general social login, basic, I will say, is compatible with Web3 Auth. So you can bring your own authentication. We have a particular guide for that, custom JWT, which is bring your own authentication. You can directly customize it. Works with Auth0, AWS, Okta, all sorts of SSOs as well. So it's definitely possible in that way.
And I remember you showing the
Yeah.
wallet UI, right? And I think one of the important thing is that companies need it to be customized to their preference, like have different logos, have like different kind of branding over there. So how is it done for the Web3 auth? Like is it through
So
code
it's
or
all
what?
in the dashboard itself directly. So we have a lot of grandmas over here, which we have customized to different regions of Web3 Auth. So we'll talk about the uh, mean grandma, which is, I guess, a smart grandma is a smart contract account. The mean one is the mainnet one. Okay, so over here I can just customize it accordingly what I want to be. So inside of air, I can just change the dark mode, light mode. I can have my own logos. I'm using the Web3 Auth logo right now. If I just go over here and maybe just write Google logo, I'll get a link of the Google logo and show you just right over here how it can be customized. So I'll copy image address, and instead of the Web3 Auth logo, you will be able to see the Google logo directly over here. And as soon as I just save and publish it, it will be live. So I can add a branded logo according to my need. Inside of this loader you are seeing, right? I can even customize it to show the logo or not and stuff like that. I can just customize every single aspect what you see over here, and even the color schemes I can just change it to maybe something else I want it to be. So you can see it's already red and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fully customizable, and we also have a flow in which this will be totally invisible. So the aim here is to have a seamless experience for the user without even telling them that you are using something with 3.
Yash,
That
quick
sounds
Yep.
question.
great.
I think like I asked you already once, but I remember a bunch of people want to actually try to push embedded wallets in their dApps, but when some kind of bigger company always like kind of enabling KYC specific flow and automation, right? Is there a way also to use those kind of like SDK and actually like embed this into their KYC flow? Because some of the also like when you speak about KYC, even on-chain KYC, right? Really like some of the project there out there, they're doing kind of like on-chain KYC.
So multiple projects and multiple ways of doing KYC. So Web3 Auth by default does not offer any KYC flow, but we are compatible with all the KYC flows out there. So what you can do is like if you
Mm.
want to create an account before doing the KYC or after doing the KYC, you can call Web3 Auth accordingly using the credentials of the user. So mostly people what they do is they just log in them via any social account, whatever they want. Till now Web3 is not involved. They can do whatever KYC they want to do on their backend, and generally these KYC flows also give you an ID token directly, the OAuth to compatible ID token, and you can just directly pass that to Web3 or to generate their keys. So it will be 100% verified all the time as well.
Thanks.
Awesome. So before I move forward, I guess Ayush, I would like you to take over to talk about the different SDKs and stuff we offer, because you are the most familiar person with the mobile SDKs.
Yeah, so basically for mobile SDKs, we offer a lot of like native SDKs for Swift as well for Android, and we also have like for cross-platform, Flutter and React Native. Yash and me always have like kind of arguments going on which one is
React
the
Native.
better, Flutter or React Native. So yeah, so if you don't have to argue on that, so basically you can choose whichever you like, and we like have for both of the flows which Yash mentioned. If you want to like have like say hide the all the flows that your Yash was showing, all the screens that we were showing, the authentication screens. If you want to hide that, you can use our SFA SDKs from mobile, and if you want like the default flows, you can use the PNP SDKs that we have for mobile.
Right. So what's the difference between plug and play and list single factor auth?
So basically, if you're using single factor auth, like you have to manage, like for example, if you're using Google, right? So for Google, like you will have to manage the login yourself. Like you use a Google SDK to log in, get the ID token, and basically what you will be doing is just verify the ID token with the Web3 auth and get the private key to sign the transaction, get the address, and do everything. With plug and play flow, basically you don't have to do all of those things. You basically say to Web3 auth that, oh, hey, Web3 auth, I want just to do Google login, and basically Web3 auth will be doing the Google login, the redirecting for the user, get it verified, and like basically allow you to access the private key and account of the
This
user.
actually goes
So
with your question as well about how to use our own authentication, right? So, so that is
yeah.
possible with single factor auth, but is it possible with plug and play as well?
Yeah, basically, if you don't, so I think there was one chat about like if you don't want to create fragmented embedded wallets. So if you are using by PNP by default, you can have a global kind of account that any of the dApp has. Like basically, any dApp will have the same account for user if they're using the global verifier, what we have term inside the Web3 auth. And so the issue in that is, for instance, like if user loses the money in one of the dApp, it will affect all of the dApps as well. So sometimes like user dApp might want to have like fragmented embedded wallets for specific use case, and for that they might want to use kind of create their own custom authentication, which I think is very easy to create from the dashboard. So if you want to create a custom authentication for, let's say, Google, you can also do that, like just by, yeah. So here you can see like we do have it like a custom authentication, and the good thing with PNP is that you can basically use this custom authentication directly. So like you don't have to manage the iToken yourself, yet you can like enjoy the benefits of like the default flow, but you will be having a fragmented embedded wallet and not a global wallet.
And just like that, I just created a Google connection, a new connection for you. You just have to copy the Google client ID, and a connection is created. And this connection will can be used basically in any of our SDKs directly. And you can just log in via your own Google and not Web3 auth's Google. So that's the quality of this. And yeah, moving forward with the mobile SDKs, there are multiple other features, right? So it's not just available for directly mobile. We already talked about the custom authentication parts. But what about the other important parts? Like, for example, you are already working with delegation toolkit and smart accounts. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so one of the thing that I like with the V10, the latest release of WebAuth, is that you can have smart accounts just by enabling auth on dashboard. Like I have not seen like a lot of players out there providing this. If you are using the WAGMI with Web3 auth, you don't need to do any additional kind of configuration. Just go on the dashboard, enable the smart accounts, add the bundler URL and KMS URL. That's it, nothing else. And there is no change in the flow. That's the one of the good thing. So basically, you can still use the WAGMI hooks that you're using for doing the transactions. What will WebSauce will do is basically convert those transactions to user operation through the we can say provider layer, and it will handle everything for you, so you don't have to do any additional configuration.
Exactly. So all the things I was talking about here is directly available in the documentation as well, and you can just go through the documentation. So I'll just give you an overview of how this works. So if you're a new developer, you don't know anything about where to start, just go to the quick start and you'll get a pre-made application for yourself. You can just choose whatever different things you want, maybe Android, Angular, Next.js. I'm clicking on it. It's showing me a drop down, but it's not showing on the stream because it's just a window selected. I don't know how this screen sharing in this way works,
I
but
know, I know.
there's
Yeah.
limited thing we can do. So yeah, over here you can just select whatever you want, and you'll get a pre-made application which you can clone directly, or you can just even have a preview directly right here as well, and it will run within the documentation browser as well. So you can just directly try it out, right? And with this, if you want to have an overview of what you want to use and how things are done, you can just directly come here and look at the different products. If you want to deep dive into one of the SDKs you're integrating in React, Vue, or maybe the different mobile SDKs we talk about, so you can just go into the SDK references of these, and you can just directly see the hooks of how it works. You can look into how to integrate with Solana, Ethereum, anything like that, and it's compatible with all chains. That's the beauty of it, like any blockchain. And I guess I just missed one question which you were going to ask Ayush about chain compatibility, but this works with every single chain out there. And we have special like integrations for Solana, EVM, and XRPL as well. So those are the few special ones. I guess Bitcoin is coming very soon as well alongside this. And in addition to that, we have multiple other resources about like connecting with different providers, as we just talking about, and a lot of different examples. We have been maintaining so many examples that sometimes it's like a mess for us to like just go through each and everything and like make sure everything is working. But we have made sure everything is in place, and a lot of different checks are in place as well to maintain these end to end. and you can just use any combination, and most probably there's an example available for it, and you can just directly go and try out. So I
Nice.
guess I have covered everything. Do you think I've missed anything, Ayush?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, there is a question in the chat that's talking. How can I use it in the backend? And it's a pretty interesting question because if I am running a AI agent and I want the AI agent to sign transactions, can I do that using Web3 app?
Yep. So as Leonard had mentioned in previously in the call, like over here, what happens is if you use something like Web3 or embedded wallets in the backend, you are essentially making kind of a custodial wallet, right? So we want to avoid that first of all. So there are ways to avoid that. How we do that is one way. If you want to just use the same SDK which you're using in the front end, we have this SDK for React Native over here. Just a moment. JS SDK, yes. So SFA JS SDK, this works in the Node environment directly as well as in the React Native environment. Actually, the Web SDK can work as well if you want it to, but if you enable the MFA, it won't work because in the backend there's no MFA. So we want to make sure we are not doing the custodial approach, right? So over here, this can be semi-custodial to an extent because we are generating the keys on demand, and that's it. But the most most asked for SDK is our MPC SDK in the backend, which where no basically key is generated. Everything is just signature. So you are not being custodial in the backend. So if you just use this SDK, just do some simple login using some ID token approach like Google, you'll get a signer, and using that signer you can make any direct calls to any of your favorite smart contracts directly as well, and the AI agent can interact directly.
Nice. Cool.
Nice. So I have a question like for you, Yash. So I think we talked about the SSS and MPC TSS you showed right now. So how I think like Leonard talk about like how the SSS works. So maybe you can if you have any like flow to show like how it is different from the MPC TSS and how both compare to each other. What are the benefits and like if you are a
Hmm.
developer, how should you choose the right one?
Correct. So if I talk about the comparison between MPC and normal infrastructure, I can go into the MPC infrastructure documentation where we have highlighted the exact things about how these things work. Somebody can deep dive into it if they want, but I'll just focus on this particular aspect here. Okay. So if you see right here inside of MPC, what we are doing is, okay, my internet, I hate this thing sometimes, but I have to restart my camera again. So what happens over here is that the same social login you are doing with Shamir secret sharing gives you a particular key share of the user, which is a part of the private key. And if we are getting a part of the private key, what happens is we will be able to reconstruct the private key using any of the shares what user might have, like we mentioned device or maybe the social factor. We can use that to create the private key, final private key of the user. But in TSS we are giving you a signature, and from the private key stored in the user's place, we are using it as an encryption key for another share or a factor in the cloud. So at this point, the user is holding an encryption key to a cloud share, and you are getting a signature of the share in the front end. So you can just call that cloud share to get a signature, or you sign your transaction once, and you can sign the rest of the transaction using the signature given by the social login. So in this way, the key is never reconstructed. There's no key present at the front end. It's just a signature, final signature directly of the transaction.
I see. So if I understood correctly, in like SSS, we have kind of an iframe where we have the key which signs the transaction. But for basically like MPC TSS, you send the transaction to sign like to every key share. Like okay, sign this transaction, and they give you the partial
Yes.
signatures. And on the front end, you basically combine the partial signatures to generate the aggregated signature that you can send to the
Exactly. So we get
network.
this aggregated signature when we log in, and then when you have the second share, you can use it as a partial signature.
Nice.
Also,
Nice.
We have like talked about some advanced stuff over here as well. I guess it will be too much for some people, but you can just talk to us anytime. And the most important place over here will be the community. So we have the Web3 Auth community where you can ask any questions, anything you like regarding whatever. Like somebody is just looking for best practices with integrated in React application, and we are very active over here, as well as we have an AI bot. We love AI, and that will help you answer some of the questions, but we'll make sure that your question is answered from our side as well within 3 days maximum, I'll say. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I mean, yeah, so it's super interesting what you guys went through. I really like also like the demo side. And I don't know, I can't believe this, but we actually used the entire hour here. I
Well,
think like a lot of deep dive, and this is super actually like useful. And I mean, between the first chat and actually this demo, I think the next definitely like step will be let's actually build something together in some kind of like live coding session on a embedded wallet. I think that would be probably like the best step. And if you have anything you're hearing this discussion, you would like us to also like bring more kind of like embedded wallet topics, hackathon, or specific kind of like discussion points, feel free to also like DM us, or even just write. I would say also like write in the Web3 of kind of like Discord. I think in the slash community is also like it's. I think it's yeah, we're being quite active right now. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. I think I don't know. I think like we kind of like said a little bit everything for the people also like they joined late. I also like want to mention re-mention again. If you're an ECC, join also like Builder Night. But most important, if you are not and you're building something, we are also running this MetaMask card Dev Cook-Off. Also, like we're working here with Yash and Marshy about on I think we can announce that, but we're working on this MetaMask Dev Cook-Off of our embedded wallet, so they will be actually very excited. And yeah, if you just want to participate, always again, our door are always open, right? So feel free to shoot like a message also for the next community calls. If you're building something, you want to come and present something, definitely like reach us out. And again, thank you so much, Yash. Thank you so much, Ayush, for coming. Thank you so much, Alejandro, for hosting this. And thanks everyone also like for running the call in the background. All the coordination is always a massive effort from kind of like, social media to like Luma to coordinating everyone. It's not easy to coordinate people. That's why, I mean, I'm not saying we need agents, but it's not easy to coordinate people. So um, thanks everyone for coming, and probably see you next month.
see you
Thank
all next
you.
month for sure.